All right, we're live here on YouTube. I want to do a quick little welcome to all our YouTube audience to the Money Lab show today before we fire up the official starting point. Have our guest today, Bill Ferguson, online. You should be able to see him right now. He's really close to the camera, so his face is much bigger than mine, as it should be, because he's the main event today. Say hello, Bill.
Hi there.
Okay, great. So we're at the top of the hour. Wanted to jump on YouTube really quick just to kind of welcome everybody. And we're about to fire up the audio podcast version. So hang tight. All right, welcome to the Money Lab Live Podcast, episode number 71, The Run from Failure Money Story. All right, welcome back to another live broadcast of the Money Lab podcast from the Six Figure Academy. I am your host, Wei Hong from the Six Figure Academy, and this is the podcast where we give you strategies and interviews and tips and with other entrepreneurs on how to create that ultimate six-figure lifestyle, free of bad money stories, money anxiety, and stress so that you can monetize your dreams and execute your genius. It was kind of weird. A moment there, my computer started doing some really funky things. Now, if you haven't already downloaded our free ebook, From Money Anxiety to Six-Figure Mastery, make sure you go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com and get it there. It's the perfect complement to all the things we discuss on this show, and quite frankly, it could change your life. And it's perfect complement to our guest today, who is all about changing and transforming people's lives. So, if you are joining us live today and you are not on YouTube and looking at our beautiful faces made for radio, make sure you get on Spreaker.com or download the Spreaker app on your mobile device and search for the hashtag #TheMoneyLab so that you can join us in the chat room and ask questions, interact with us and our guest, or even request a specific topic to discuss that will help support you in your quest for that ideal six-figure lifestyle, which is much further beyond just six figures. It's all about happiness, right? Now, while you're there, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can catch us every week. For all of the ways to find us, go to thesixfigureacademy.com radio/radio for all the details. And if there's something that you love about what you hear on this episode today that you know could help someone you care about, remember, sharing is caring. Share this show to that person. I'm really excited to finally get this guest on my show today, Mr. Bill Ferguson. Now, Bill, his approach to life has been called the penicillin of psychology, which is really cool. I love that because, penicillin cures a variety of different things, and it's the penicillin of psychology curing what is missing in psychology. He has been featured on Oprah and recommended by the Wall Street Journal. His book on how to heal a painful relationship has become a national bestseller. His newest book, Get Your Power Back, shows how to find and heal the inner issues that destroy love and sabotage our lives. He has a step-by-step process on how to resolve problem areas, heal relationships, and create a great life. And where he's coming from, I cannot wait for him to share that story of where this all came from. Welcome to the show, Bill. You're live and on the air.
Great. Well, I've been looking forward to doing this with you, and we're going to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. And you are actually, I know I hesitate to complain about the heat that I'm dealing with here with neighbors that are keep consistently turning off the air conditioning, but it must be so much hotter where you are.
Well, the thing about Houston is it's got the humidity.
Yeah, and that actually adds to it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, when the humidity's in, you can be standing outside, and then in a short period of time, you're dripping in sweat just standing.
Right. And in the water, instead of having a dry, kind of like a dry rub steak grilling, it's more like a broiling type of thing. The water actually broils you. So it's like two different types of heat issues that you're dealing with there.
Yeah.
Have I been to Houston yet? No. I've been to Austin. I've been to Dallas. No, actually, I have been to Houston, but it was back. Wait, Abbott Laboratories, is that in Houston?
I don't know. I've heard the name before, but I don't know.
They're somewhere in Texas. Anyway, so that's not really important, neither here nor there. But, here's the thing. It's like, a lot of people don't don't realize where certain people come from. I always love to hear these stories about how people came into doing what they're doing. And now you specialize in helping people with their relationships in all areas of life, right?
Yes. Well, I started out being a divorce attorney.
Yeah, okay.
And my focus as a divorce attorney was to have my clients heal their relationship, not as husband and wife, but just one human being to another.
So you're one of the good ones. One of the good divorce attorneys. You actually care about your clients.
Well, yes, and I figured that I could either be an adversary or a peacemaker. And everything you do as an adversary creates adversariness against you.
Right.
But when you focus on being a peacemaker, then all the pieces fall together, things work out fine.
Brilliant.
So if I really wanted to take care of my clients, I needed to be a peacemaker.
Yeah.
And I ended up being really good at it. Something like 15% of my clients canceled their divorce and stayed together.
Great.
And of the 85% that did divorce, virtually all of them parted as friends.
Great. And that was due to your interaction with them and you're helping them resolve some of the challenges.
Yes. And one of the things that I discovered is that it only takes one person to heal a relationship. Mm-hmm. See, very rarely did I see the other person. All I saw was my client.
Right.
But when my client shifted how he or she was towards the other person, it changed how the other person responded in return.
Right. Which lends to that belief, that saying that it takes two to tango, right?
Well, it's actually, yes, exactly. And that relationships are not 50-50. They are 100-100.
Oh, I like that. 100-100. Right.
Yes. And another thing I saw was that, like, on the surface was all the anger and the resentment and the upset. And always what was underneath all the upset was a tremendous amount of hurt.
Right.
And always what was under the hurt was the love. We wouldn't be upset if we didn't care.
Right. Yeah.
So one thing became very obvious is that love never, ever, ever is love enough to have a relationship work.
Right.
It's the thing that makes the difference is not the love, it's the experience of love.
Right.
If I interact with you in a way where you feel loved, our relationship will be great. If I interact with you in a way where you feel unloved, our relationship will be a mess.
Right. Now, how many times, okay, so I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of people, so they come to this belief system that it's the money that's why they're having a divorce, they're having challenges in a relationship. How many times have you seen that where as you continue to work with them to understand that, like, all of a sudden they realize money wasn't the reason why they're getting a divorce, or money wasn't the biggest...
It's never the reason.
Right.
I
love that you said that. Okay, that's what I always say. It's never the reason. Money's never the reason why relationships are challenged.
Yeah, because all the things that we think are the problem are not the problem. They're the symptom.
Right.
Whenever you have a relationship that's not working, there's an underlying condition of resisting or hanging on that's destroying the love and creating conflict.
Right. And where have you seen, give me an example of what you've seen, how a discord in a relationship has then led to them having financial challenges, which then led to, like, the filing of divorce. Have you've seen that, I'm sure.
Well, what happens in relationships, like, let's say you and I are brothers.
Okay.
And you're you.
Okay.
And I can love the way you are, I can hate the way you are, you're still you.
Right.
Well, when I fight the truth of the way that you are, you need to change, you're messed up, what's your problem?
Right.
As I become non-accepting towards you, you get hurt, you get upset, you put up your walls of protection, and then automatically you become critical of me. Which then triggers my hurt. I get more upset. I become more against you. You become more against me. I become more against you. And we create this cycle of conflict, this cycle of hurting, attacking, withdrawing from each other that brings out the worst in everybody.
Right.
And that in that cycle of conflict, you're reacting instead of creating.
Right.
You know, and almost anything you do in that condition destroys love and makes things worse.
Right. So you're reacting to circumstances versus creating the circumstances that you truly want.
Exactly. And then until you can find and remove that underlying condition, the same thing is going to repeat itself forever.
Right.
And the thing that I found is that any time there's an area of life that isn't working, every time there's an area of life that isn't working, whether it's finances, whether it's relationships, no matter what it is, there's an underlying condition that's creating the problem.
Wow. Yeah.
And we put all of our focus on the symptoms. He said, she said.
Right.
But that's the symptom. And when you focus on the symptom without addressing the cause, the past repeats itself forever.
Oh, I love what you said right there. And then one of the biggest things, that big takeaway from, I mean, there's a lot of gemstones in what you just said. I don't even know where to begin. But I think one of my favorite one on that little chunk right there was the fact that, you know, instead of creating, you're reacting as a result of this discord that you've mutually created between each other.
Yes.
And you know, in the realm of, you know, just to stay within the context of the money lab and stuff like that, when we're talking about money, when we're talking about financial circumstances, reactionary approach to creating wealth is totally ineffective in the long run versus creation, being in a state of creation, right?
Absolutely. And the reason is that one is based on fact, the other is based on emotion. See, when you're at peace, when you have inner peace, you see clearly.
Yeah.
And then automatically your focus is on, okay, based on the facts, I hate it that this is the way that it is, but given that that's the truth, this is the way that it is, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And that's where life works. You look in a direction where solutions and opportunity and possibility show up.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so you look at the areas of your life that work great. Those are areas where you can flow with whatever happens. The areas of life that don't work are areas where we can't flow.
Right.
And in those areas, we're full of emotion, and our decisions and actions are based on emotion, which then
gets us in trouble.
Automatically creates more hurt.
Yeah, and it gets us in trouble in a variety of different ways. Now, you've been doing this a long time. I mean, over 30 years now. I mean, I think June 1985 was when you made that leap into entrepreneurship, right?
That was when I closed my law practice.
Yeah, and was that your own law practice, or?
Yes.
Oh, so you already were an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I practiced law for 13 years before I finally closed the.
And were you always an entrepreneur, or did you used to work at a firm before that?
Well, pretty much. I started out being in the Marine Corps. I was a lawyer for the Marine Corps for 4 years,
and then I went to the country.
Yes, and then I worked for a firm for about a year, and then pretty much the rest of it ever since then I've been on my own.
Wow. Okay, so you were probably just pretty much an entrepreneur right from the get-go. You tried it for a year and you're like, I don't want to do this.
yeah, absolutely. I've been an entrepreneur since 1977.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That's a long time.
That's you've got some seniority in there with over some of our audience members, you know, in terms of entrepreneurship. But here's the thing. So you probably grew up with a bit of a money story, and there were good money stories, I'm sure, and bad money stories. But what was the money story that you grew up with that you had to figure out in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey? Because I mean, what I found in most entrepreneurs that once we get that money story piece out of the bad money story piece out of the way, entrepreneurship becomes much more fun and much more gracefully easy to grow and enjoy.
Yes.
What was the money story that you grew up with in terms of?
Okay. Well, the thing that in my life, everybody has a hurt that they run from. Mm-hmm. You know, worthless, not good enough, not worth loving, failure, something like that. Mine was failure. So my life was about running from failure, doing everything I can to prove what a success I am. Oh. And this wasn't deliberate. It was just all subconscious.
Right.
And in my running from failure, trying to become a success, it was like I operated in a state of tunnel vision. Uh-huh. You know, and that's like blinders on a horse.
Right.
And then in that tunnel vision, we create more of the very hurt we're running from.
Wow.
So if somebody's running from not worth loving, they're going to forever sabotage their relationships and create not worth loving.
Right.
Well, in my running from failure, I kept creating more and more failure.
Oh, okay.
Now I had some, big wins and things like that, but failure kept popping up.
Right.
And then finally there was this point when I bought a whole bunch of real estate, highly leveraged, which works great as long as the market's going up.
Right.
But I bought it right before the market collapsed.
I did that too.
Oh, good.
So I can feel your pain.
So I lost everything. I lost all my investments, and I lost my office, and I lost my home.
Wow.
I lost everything.
You lost your
But
home.
it was one of the most wonderful times in my life because it put failure in my face so big, I was forced to deal with it.
Right.
See, up to that point, I'd always been able to avoid it, push it away, deny it.
Yeah.
But this time it was so big, I couldn't escape it.
Right.
And there was this moment when I looked over my life and I just saw all the evidence to prove what an incredible failure I am. Now, there was also the other side of the coin called success, and there'd be a ton of evidence to prove that too. But at the time, I couldn't see the success side of the coin. All I could see was the failure side.
Right.
And the evidence was overwhelming, and there was this moment when I just surrendered to it. I hate it, but I can't deny it. Yep, failure's part of me.
In that cathartic moment, a catharsis, right?
Oh, it changed my life because the moment I let in what an incredible failure I was, my fear of failure lost its power. The tunnel vision lost its power. I no longer had to prove that I'm a success. And there was this point when I felt this wonderful freedom. It's like, oh, what a relief. I'm a failure. How great. Right. Because now I don't have to be a certain way. I can just be me. And that was the point when my life started working.
Wow. Now, when you were running from failure, like it reminds me of what, I had a client that had an extreme phobia of insects and bugs.
Yes.
Almost so bad, so much so, and this is how you know it's a phobia, that when she came across like a cockroach in the middle of a sidewalk, she would blindly run into the middle of the street and almost get hit by a car.
Yes.
So this running from failure is kind of like.
Well, it's exactly the same thing, but it's like there's basically two different types of suppressed emotion. Mm-hmm. There's the suppressed emotion of the childhood hurt of feeling worthless, not good enough, not worth loving, that sort of thing. And then there's the suppressed emotion of trauma. You see, so that girl would have all this suppressed emotion of sometime when she was real little, when some insect would run over her or something, and she had all that terror, and then she suppressed it, and then every time she sees another insect, that suppressed emotion gets bigger.
Yeah. Well, we've since released it, so she's not afraid of bugs anymore. But it was interesting.
Okay.
So,
but it's a great example,
right? Because
this suppressed emotion is more powerful than all the common sense in the world.
Right.
She knows that an insect on the sidewalk is not as dangerous as running in the middle of the street.
Right.
But when that hurt gets triggered, it takes over.
So when you're running from failure, it was kind of the same thing. Then you started pushing yourself, going into these emotional decisions on creating more success.
Oh, absolutely, because subconsciously,
right.
If I really am a failure, I might as well die. This suppressed.
Who did you learn that from? Who did you learn that from? But where did you learn that from? I mean, someone taught you that. It's not something that we came into this world knowing. Was it dad? Was it mom? I mean, where did you learn that from as a child?
Well, it's just. I mean, where did I learn worthless?
Well, yeah. I mean, just like that, to know to run from failure. I mean, we learned that as a child growing up. These big moments.
Yeah. See, what happens? We're born pure love. We're born present with who we are.
Right.
But we're born into a world that kills it.
Right.
So what happens?
So who killed it for you? Who helped you create that run from failure?
I don't know, and you're not likely to ever know where it started.
Interesting.
But you don't need to know where it started to heal it. But to heal it, you need to know what it is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that every single one of us gets hurt. Every single one of us experiences very, very painful losses of life. Mm-hmm. And as a little child, the only way we can explain it is to blame ourselves. Clearly, I'm the problem. And then we decide what that problem is. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth loving. I'm worthless. I'm a failure. I'm this. I'm that. And it's never the truth, but in the eyes of a little child, it becomes our truth. And then we fight the belief that we created, and we fight the emotion associated with it, which then magnifies it out of proportion. Mm-hmm. And then as life goes on, as time goes on, it keeps getting triggered. We keep suppressing it, and it grows and grows and grows.
Wow. Yeah.
And everybody's got it. It's just that everybody has a different hurt.
Interesting. So it's interesting that you said, like, as a child, you learned that. And most children, of course, depending on how we're raised from our parents or whatever the case may be, that's where we learn most of our lessons growing up.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, most people get these issues from their parents.
Right. So likely the desire to run from failure, to fear failure, came from somewhere, right? Somewhere.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and this hurt is firmly in place before you're 4 years old.
Right.
You're very, very young. But
so who is it? Was it mom or is it dad? Who is it likely? Was it mom or dad?
Oh, for me, probably my dad.
Your dad? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. My dad taught me some great money stories, and he's also taught me some really bad ones. So
Yeah. And give you an example of how this stuff gets created. Years ago, I was in a department store, and there was a mother and daughter shopping. The little girl was about 4, and then the little girl spilled her drink, which is what 4-year-olds do. And the mother got real upset and started screaming at her, saying, "What's the matter with you? Why are you so stupid?"
Oh.
Well, how many?
Wrong word, Mom.
Yeah. So how many times is that little girl going to hear it before she believes it? And what happens if she hears it over and over and over again?
Well, she's going to start judging everybody that spills things anytime in her life. Starts thinking they're stupid.
Yeah, so she can't help but internalize it. And then she creates... Now, it's actually physically impossible to be smart or stupid because those are relative.
Right.
Smart compared to what? They don't exist. Yeah. They only exist.
I think everybody is smart, just in their own very unique way. Everybody's intelligent.
Yeah, well, it's a judgment. It's relative.
Yeah.
But to the little girl, smart and stupid become very real things.
Right.
And then she decides stupid is bad, smart is good, and she spends the whole rest of her life running from stupid, doing everything she can to become smart.
Right.
But no matter what she accomplishes, it'll never be enough.
Right, because it's only focusing on the pain of being stupid.
Yeah, and then she could get 7 PhDs.
And it won't
be enough to get rid of that childhood hurt.
Right? And then she gets married and he starts judging how stupid her husband is. Because he keeps spilling things when they're at parties.
And you can tell what people's issues are by the words of judgment they use.
Right.
So she'll judge people in terms of smart and stupid.
Right.
So if you hear somebody using the word smart or stupid in their sentences, they're going to have a major issue with stupid.
Right.
The mother couldn't have used that word towards her daughter unless the mother had a major issue with stupid.
Unless you're like my grandma, who called me stupid, but in a very loving way while nurturing me and everything like that. But still made me feel like I didn't want to be stupid. But she calls me, but I did. But it was like I don't know. It just kind of felt kind of good for her, coming from her anyway. But I still don't think it was a good thing though.
That's great.
So okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's pretty amazing because I don't think you're the only one in this world that has a money story that drives people to run from failure. I think our society, our culture, our schooling system basically makes failure such a hard pill to swallow that almost everybody gets in trouble failing in school at some point.
Everything in our culture reinforces the hurt.
Right, the hurt of failure for those that have the trauma.
Or whatever it is.
Right.
Some people it's failure, some people it's not worth loving, some people it's not good enough, but everybody's got it.
Right.
And each person avoids it in a different way, but wherever that hurt manifests, that area of life won't work.
Right. So the work that you do, is it also, there's a part of it to help people avoid that cathartic moment where you hit rock bottom, you lost your home? I mean, my big thing is always like, as a coach and consultant, is like, I don't want my worst enemy to go through what I went through when it came to money.
Yeah.
So how do we get people to, and maybe this is the work that you do, to get people to avoid having to go through that catharsis in order to create change? I mean, that's what your process is all about, right? To kind of help.
Well, most people, have their awakening the hard way.
Right.
Like I did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Most of us.
Most of us do. But it's not necessary.
Right.
You can have your awakening the easy way.
Right. But how do we get people to see that? To see that they don't have to wait for it? Because a lot of people won't make a move or won't make a decision until there's something prodding them so hard that it's embedded in their skin. It's like there's a tick biting them, but you won't do anything about it until its head is inside your skin.
Yes, but that's usually the way it is. That's usually the way it is. We're taught to look outside of us, not inside of us.
Like post-mortem,
So,
right?
so I do a lot of individual work with people, and most of the people that come to see me are suffering from something.
Yeah.
There's something that's in their face. There's some area of their life that isn't working.
Right.
And then they want the freedom.
Right.
And then what I do is the first thing is to have them discover what's the underlying condition that's creating the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever that underlying condition is, it's always going to be fueled by this hurt.
Right. Yeah.
And then you heal the hurt, then you can remove the condition, and then that area of life can start clearing up very, very fast because your focus is then on solutions rather than avoidance and resisting.
Right. So, since you've been doing this for so long, I mean, you probably have some really amazing stories of some of the amazing results that you've been, some life-changing results that you've been able to create. Can you share a couple of those examples, especially, in light of our audience, maybe a couple of ones about entrepreneurs that were struggling with something that you helped them with?
Well, I can't think of any specific examples, but the result is that people become more able to flow with what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? What does that mean specifically? Being able to flow with what's going on.
Okay, well, here's something real interesting. There's the reality and there's our reality, and the two realities have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Okay, so our own unique personal reality versus the reality outside.
The reality.
Right.
Yeah, in the reality, what so is what so. What happened is what happened. What is, period. Mm-hmm. That's the reality.
Right.
Our reality consists of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotion, the points of view, the opinions, the stuff. Okay, why it's important to make that distinction is because when you're at peace with the truth of what so, and it's always what so, whether we like it or not.
Right.
When you're at peace with what so, automatically your focus goes towards what do I need to do based on the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And that area of life works.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at any area of life that isn't working, whether it's relationships or finances or no matter what it is, if you look, notice the direction of focus. Instead of putting the focus on what do I need to do based on the facts, instead, all the focus is on fighting the facts. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, we destroy our ability to see what needs to be done, and we interact in a way that literally magnifies the problem.
Okay.
And I can give you an example if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. My wife and I have a black and white cat. That cat won't bark. And I can yell at the cat, scream at the cat, I can plead with the cat, but it just doesn't make any difference because no matter what I do, that cat isn't going to bark.
There is a video of a cat that barks, though. I'm just letting you know.
I saw it, too.
Yeah. It's hilarious. And then it got caught. Then it got caught barking.
People sent me that video.
it got caught barking, and then it started meowing again. It was like hilarious.
Yeah, that was classic. That was classic. So most cats don't bark.
Right. That's an anomaly. Yes.
And our cat certainly wouldn't bark.
Right.
Okay. Well, if I can surrender to that truth, and then and if I want to hear barking, what do I need to do? Go get a dog. When I'm at peace with the truth, I automatically look in a direction where solutions and opportunity show up. Okay, so that's where life works. Where life doesn't work is when my focus is on the cat. I'm going to be convinced that the cat's the problem. I don't know what the deal is with that cat, but it's that doggone cat that's the problem. So when I'm focusing on the cat, I destroy my ability to find solutions because I'm looking in a direction where solutions don't show up.
You're twisting the facts to see
I'm,
to create a...
I'm focusing 180 degrees opposite of where solutions are.
Right.
And then in my fighting the cat, I start creating a nightmare in my relationship with the cat. And now the cat, not only does it not bark, now it's starting to bite. You see, and
this is an example where the bite is worse than the bark because it doesn't even bark.
yeah.
So,
but this is what happens. Literally, any area of life that isn't working is an area where we're fighting the truth. And when you fight the truth, you set in motion a bunch of very destructive processes. Mm-hmm. And of course, why we fight the truth is because the truth hurts, strikes a nerve.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So radical honesty. So logically, I'm sure most people will hear this and say, well, that totally makes sense. The truth is the truth. The facts are the facts, and it is so. Gravity's gravity, and whatever's going to happen, gravity's going to be gravity. No matter how you fight it. But a lot of people will come back, and I've heard this before. It's like, oh, easier said than done. How do people start to reconcile with that conflict with them? That's like, I know this is true, but I can't help myself.
Well, that's just it. It's like there's not enough self-discipline in the world to get rid of this hurt. When this hurt is there, it runs the show.
Right.
You can swear, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then that nerve gets triggered and you do it.
You do it anyway.
Oh, I do that. It just takes over. It's like a spring-loaded mechanism. Mm-hmm. Because in that moment, our very survival is being threatened.
Right.
Because if I really am a failure, if my parents were right about me, I'm going to die. I'd rather die. Get me out of here.
Right.
So now in reality, there's nothing threatening about it because it's just a combination of thoughts and feelings.
But it's a perception,
subconsciously, right? It's a major threat. Yeah. And it's death to the ego.
Death to the ego, which, oh my God, can't let that happen ever.
Yes. So anything that triggers this hurt is perceived subconsciously as a major threat, and we have to fight it.
Right.
But when that happens, is we destroy our ability to see clearly, and all we can do ultimately is fight, resist, hang on, withdraw. We're forced to act in a way that will create more of the very hurt we're avoiding.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of, now there's this new technology called AR, instead of like AI, it's AR, augmented reality, right? Instead of virtual reality, it's augmented reality, where you see the world through the camera and it overlays things on it, so it's augmented. In a way, human beings have been doing that since the beginning of time, right?
Oh, yes, because we make all these decisions about the way life is, but we don't realize we're just creating beliefs and points of view.
Which overlays on top of what truth is, right? Which is what the facts are, right?
Yes.
And I wouldn't even say, I like the way that you say facts instead of truth, because truth is also kind of subjective as well, many times. But facts are facts, right? So.
And one thing I've seen is that all destructive behavior comes from suppressed hurt. And always what's under the hurt is love. And in that love, there is no destructive behavior.
Right.
So the more you can get rid of the suppressed hurt, you return to who you are. And who you are is that experience of love. Right. And in that experience of love, you're happy, you're alive, you're free, you feel good about yourself, you feel good about life, you're on top of life, you have a very positive attitude, you radiate that positive energy, and great things happen around you. And that's the natural state. That's who we are without the junk.
Right, without the junk. And I love what you said earlier about there's no amount of self-discipline that can kind of like get rid of. Once you're entrenched and you've grown up with that, it's there. And so would you say then that the solution would be to go outside of yourself and not have to navigate this alone? I mean,
you can heal the hurt. You can heal the hurt. Mm-hmm. See, because the hurt is not based on fact. The hurt is something that we created as a child. Mm-hmm. Now, the things that happened are real. Mm-hmm. The things that happened to us are real. But what we did with it is not.
Right. So how do then people reconcile with that then? How do they start, doing that together? I mean, obviously working with you would be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I do is you got to identify what the hurt is. And you can look at your upsets to show you what the hurt is. Mm-hmm. So make a list of all your upsets, particularly the hurt you experienced as a child growing up. And then look at the hurt that's underneath that. You know, if your own parents treated you like that, what would that say about you?
Right.
You know, if these things happen, what would that say about you? And when you're looking for the hurt, remember, you're not looking for a fact. You're not looking for the truth. You're looking for an emotion.
Right.
You want to find the words of not okay that most accurately describe that hurt. So don't look and see if it's true, because it's not true. It's got nothing to do with the truth. Instead, look and see if that were true, would that be painful? And then what you'll see when you discover this hurt, it would be incredibly painful.
Right. Right.
See, and of course, what gives it the power is fighting it.
So embracing it would be basically accepting the fact that, yes, that is a truth that I adopted in my world, in my life, that I've been running from.
Yeah, but doing that in your head isn't going to work.
Okay, so what then?
Well, there's nothing you can do to get rid of worthless failure or whatever the issue is, because everything we do to get rid of it validates it, magnifies it, gives it more power.
Okay.
Like, for example, this is something I call the law of resistance. Whatever you resist, you're going to magnify and give power to it.
Right.
So imagine on the ceiling above you 4 large yellow balloons. Mm-hmm. Now, whatever you do, don't think about them. Mm-hmm. And notice what happens when you try not to think about them. You get yellow balloons everywhere.
Right.
Well, ultimately, there's no difference between yellow balloons and failure, because they're both just thoughts. So there's nothing you can do to get rid of the yellow balloons, because literally everything you do to push them away gives them more power.
Right. So what do you do instead?
Failure. So you cannot get rid of it, but you can take away its relevance and be so what about it. Like, for example, most people don't have an issue with coward, as in brave and coward.
Okay, right.
Okay, so if you were a failure or if you were a coward, if both of them were true, well, failure might be a lot more powerful, a lot more painful, but coward would be no big deal. For most people, coward is no big deal.
Right.
So that's because they don't have suppressed hurt in the area of coward. And since they don't have suppressed hurt in the area of coward, they don't have to go through life trying to prove it's not true. See, but this guy over here, he has no hurt in the area of failure, but he has a tremendous amount of hurt in the area of coward. So his whole life is about putting himself in dangerous situations to prove how brave he is. And the coward will be in his face all the time. Life will forever bring him coward, but life won't bring us coward, because that's not our issue.
Right.
You see, so you can't get rid of this hurt. But what you can do is you can take away its relevance. You can get to the place where you can say, yep, that's part of me. So what? And it's in the so what you get your freedom.
Very cool.
But you got to do that. You can't do that on a head level. You got to do that on a heart level.
Right.
When you get the experiential, emotional truth of it, it changes everything.
Wow. So as a result of this journey that you've found yourself on while working with divorcing couples, you've written 3 books, right?
Yes. Yes.
And what are the titles of those books again?
Okay, one of them was How to Heal a Painful Relationship.
Okay.
That's about how do you end the cycle of conflict in relationships. And that was the book I was on Oprah for.
Okay. Yeah, tell us about that journey. Actually, how did you end up getting on Oprah with that book?
Well, I remember one morning I was in my office and I was praying, please God, bring me some adventure. I'm bored to death. A couple hours later, I got a phone call. And I'll never forget it. The phone call said, hi, this is Joni Holder from the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Wow.
And what happened was one of the producers read the book, and I never found out how she got the book, but she read the book. She said it changed her life. And then the next thing I knew, I was on the show, and I was the only guest.
Wow.
And which was really great.
You were the only guest
I was the only guest
that episode.
In the whole hour, I was the only guest.
Holy cow.
And it was great. Oprah would walk around reading out of the book, and was a really great experience.
Oh, what did that do for your business?
Well, one thing that I mean, obviously I sold a bunch of books, but the other thing that was great was that it gave me instant credibility.
Oh yeah.
Now, obviously, I was
touched by the Midas touch of Oprah.
Yes.
Boom.
So, yeah. So obviously, I was the same person, the day before and the day after the interview, but but it gave me so much more credibility.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing.
And what year was that? When did that happen? Because that's when she still.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, that's really cool. I'm sure you have clips of that all over your website too, right? I hope.
No, actually, it was so long ago that they didn't have digital recordings.
No, they have to have them somewhere. There's got to be a collection somewhere. You got to find it. Oh my God. From a marketing standpoint, you have to use that. Holy cow.
This was just shortly after I said goodbye to Noah on his ark.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't that long.
Okay. So.
Oh my God. I will find it. And I will show you. I will find it and I'll show you where it is. It's got to be out there. It has to be. And Oprah of all people, they've got to have her digitally remastered or something, or some kind of collection.
You would think so.
Yeah. I would actually test that as if I was your business guy. I would say, you need to go find that footage and you need to be putting that in the front homepage of your website, because that's a big deal. I mean, not only is it isn't even because you had a PR person go and like pitch you or anything like that. They literally found you.
Yes,
word of mouth.
Yeah, they found me, and they're obviously they were very selective who they would have on their show.
Yeah, and to give you the whole hour.
Yeah,
of all things, that book must have been really kind of like a game changer for a lot of people who read it.
Oh yeah, and it's really true with all my work, because this stuff, once you see what's going on, you got the power to do something about it.
Yeah.
But we're looking in a direction where we never see it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the second book I wrote, not the second in order, but the next one was Get Your Power Back.
Get Your Power Back. What's that about?
And that's about how do you find and heal these deeper issues, the things we've been talking about today. It's about how do you find and heal these deeper issues that just mess everything up.
Okay.
Because literally every area of life that doesn't work, why it doesn't work is because this hurt's getting triggered and it's destroying our ability to see what needs to be done. And until you find and heal this deeper hurt, you're forced to repeat the past.
Yeah. No, it's a cycle that just repeats itself over and over and over.
Over and over and over and over. You'd be 97 years old with the same type of upsets.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of what I do is just around people's stories. And people have found that even though our focus is on money and their money stories and everything like that, it starts to ripple out and they start to look at the other stories in their life that's running their show.
Yes.
And so, I'm completely subscribed to that. Those stories are...
Another thing that's interesting is that whatever you need for your happiness, you'll never get it.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you need for your happiness, you are guaranteed to push it away. Because, like, for example, if you need success, you need money, you will sabotage it forever. Because we don't need anything for our happiness, because happiness only comes from within.
Right.
But when we think we need something, that's the symptom of this deeper hurt.
Right. Because human beings don't need much more than water, air, food, shelter, and love.
Exactly. Basically. Exactly. So, but if I think I need success, I'm running from failure. If I think I need a loving relationship, I'm running from not worth loving.
Right. That's so powerful. Yes.
Yeah. People I'm sure you know people that need to be right. Well, people that need to be right are running they're running from the hurt of that they're wrong, and more specifically, that they're stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever you need for your happiness, you are guaranteed to push it away.
That's so good. I mean, that in itself, that's worth the entire show today. I mean, just for somebody, whatever you need, you'll never get. I mean, Dalai Lama says, true happiness is happiness without reason. You're just... Yes,
absolutely. And in that state of peace, your passion comes forth. And passion There's a tremendous amount of power in passion. In your passion, you can move mountains. In your passion, you can make things happen. And in your passion, there's no upset.
Right. So let me ask you this, Bill. I mean, you obviously have been able to change a lot of lives, help a lot of people, both with your books and the work that you do. You know, one of the biggest challenges with most of us conscious, heart-centered, heart-based workers and coaches and consultants is practicing what we preach, because we are human. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So have you ever found yourself, you know, kind of like having some challenges, like, you know, enforcing your own teachings on your own life and your own journey as you up level from one level to the next?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And one of the things about
You're
life,
supposed to say no. You're supposed to be perfect, Bill. You're supposed to say no. Are you kidding me? I'm perfect. I do this all the time.
well, you see, part of why we're here on the planet is to grow.
Yeah.
So we are constantly being brought challenges and difficult times. Forever. Mm-hmm. Well, what's so important is to develop the skills so that you can use whatever life brings you for more healing and more growth.
Right. Okay.
See, the difficult times are brought to us.
Right.
Difficult times force us to look at things we need to look at, but we would otherwise never look at.
Right.
Difficult times put our issues right in our face so we can heal them. They kick us out of the nest. They get us ready for our future.
Right.
If you look at the times in your life that have been the most painful, they've also been the most valuable.
Yeah.
So we don't have a choice whether we're going to have difficult times. The only choice we have is, are we going to fight them or are we going to flow with them? When you flow with them, the difficult times come and go quickly. When you fight them, they move very, very slowly.
Yeah. So as I like to say all that, you flow to grow, right?
Yes. Yes.
Flow to grow.
Yes. And then, and see, and all this is it's a process. It's all, what this is, it's about returning to who you are. It's about developing your ability to live in the light, to live in that experience of love. And we're constantly being brought what we need to push us back into that state. But it's a direction, it's a journey, it's a process that we'll never get to.
Yeah.
Because no matter how far you go down the path, there's still more stuff to learn, more stuff to discover.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a journey, but every step along the way, life gets better and better and better.
Yeah, it's funny because I always tell people all the time, it's like the day that I spend an entire day where I don't learn something new or I don't grow on some level is the day I should actually die, because I should be learning and growing every single day on some level, because I'm interacting with the world, right?
And one of the things about life is we don't have a choice in this matter, because if we don't listen with the small stuff, it's going to get bigger and bigger until it hits us on the side of the head with a 2x4.
Yeah, and then it shows up in like disease or some kind of physical like representation, like headaches, migraines,
divorce, bankruptcy, and all sorts of
divorce, bankruptcy, money challenges, financial worries, all that stuff, all that stress, and blah blah blah. Those are circumstances. So,
go
ahead.
And when you can let go and flow with life, you want to get to the place where you're willing for anything to happen, not in your actions, but in your heart. And when you're willing for anything to happen, you become free inside and you become very thankful for what you have. And in that energy of appreciation, you can create great things.
Very, very cool. Now, you told me right before we got on the show that you've recently gone on this kick of expanding on your spiritual awareness and your spiritual path as part of your growth, I'm sure.
Yes.
A lot of what you've been talking about already is very, very spiritual in its own respect. I mean, I guess unconsciously spiritual, but I guess you wanted to bring more.
Well, it's all about spirituality. I mean, it really is. It's all about spirituality. It's all about returning to who we are. It's all about making a deeper connection with, you can call it source, you can call it God. It doesn't make any difference, but there's something very beautiful, very special there.
Yeah.
And the more you connect with that, the more life works.
Right. So what's the most recent spiritual growth that you've been kind of entertaining and exploring as part of your current journey in life?
Gosh.
So much. Where do I begin?
Yeah, it's like where do you begin? See, it's a constant process of letting go and trusting, letting go and trusting, letting go and trusting.
Is it in the area? Recently, has it been in the area of work? Has it been in the area of friends, family, relationship, health? I mean, where
for me,
yeah,
for me personally, See, I've done real well with the work that I've done.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't survive for 30 some odd years without doing well.
Yes. but see, then along came the 21st century.
Oh, okay.
And all the things that I used to do don't work anymore.
Right.
So what's been happening is the momentum has been dropping, and it's like all these things that have been so dear to me for so many years have been falling away, including my identity.
Oh.
And my work, and my passion. I'm losing my passion. So I've, and this has been a process, and part of course, is I've got to be willing to lose my life. I've got to be willing to lose my passion. I've got to
you say that. Yeah.
I've got to be willing to go to Walmart and become a greeter. I've got to be willing to get a minimum wage job. I've got to, I've got to be willing for all these things to happen.
And the funny thing is that just because you're willing doesn't mean you're actually the universe will actually say, well, you don't have to go there, but I appreciate you willing to go there.
Well, that's just it. It's like whatever you're unwilling for, you're going to create. Right. Look at a fear. Fear and upsets are both states of mind. An upset is created by fighting and resisting a past or present event. A fear is created by resisting a future event.
Right.
So if I have a fear of losing somebody, I'm resisting this future event called losing the person.
Right.
The more I resist losing the person, the bigger the fear. The bigger the fear, the more I lose my ability to see clearly, the more I hang on, the more I act destructively, which then pushes the person away and brings me my fear.
Yeah.
Whatever you fear, you create.
Right.
So to have any fear lose its power, you got to do the opposite of what gives it power.
Right.
Instead of resisting the future event, you got to be willing for the event to come true.
Yeah.
But not in your actions, in your heart.
Yeah.
In your heart, you do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen. I mean, in your actions, you do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen. But in your heart, if it happens, it happens. I'll deal with it.
Yeah. What I really appreciate this particular segment of our interview is your willingness to kind of share where you're at right now. And despite having done all this great work and helping change so many different lives, that it's just that you still incorporate your processes in your own world, in your own life.
Yes.
Yes. And it's inspiring because, people, I don't think people realize when you hear someone who's been in this space for over 30 years, there's a constant, how did these amazing musicians stand the test of time? They're constantly reinventing themselves. They're constantly questioning where they are right now as opposed to where they were 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And like for me, it's like I've been speaking this. I've done probably 3,000 speaking engagements and working workshops.
Right.
I've worked individually with, thousands of people over the 35 years. And then the more you speak it, I'm all the time saying something I've never said before in my life. It's like the more you speak it, the more you work with it, the more it reveals itself. So it's the same thing with the musicians that you've been talking about. They worked it for 30 years and they discover something new.
Right. There's something else out there.
Yeah, they're not looking for it, but it's like, oh, I see that. I never saw that before.
Yeah. And because we're working with, I know it is exciting because we're working with human beings, and of course, human beings will evolve. I mean, the same individuals that you individuals that you worked with 35 years ago probably are vastly different than the individuals that you work with today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in terms of how quickly they respond and their awareness and their perspective and how they respond to certain stimuli and everything. It's all different from how it was 35 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, the culture has changed. People have changed.
Yeah. I've only been doing it for like 25 years, but 25 years ago, my workshops that I'd run then would never have survived workshops today.
Yes.
It was so 80s. It was just like, it's like the boiler room type of approach. It's like, do it or get out. Versus
the world has changed, but I'm so thankful for the experiences I've had.
Right. Well, it's like I tell people all the time, it's kind of like if you're a pottery maker, and you are trying to create pottery, you need clay. And the years and our experience actually add to that clay.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And if we don't have enough clay, we can't make enough pots, or you can't make the pot that we want. But now we can,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the close of the top of the hour. I want to make sure, because there's so many cool things that you shared today, and I'm absolutely sure that someone who hears this and really kind of listens into all the different gemstones that you've dropped, and you must have dropped at least 30, 40 gemstones in everything that you said. And they get inspired. It's like, well, how do they get in contact with you? And what's the best way for them to reach out to you, connect with you, experience you, what it is that you do?
Great. Well, I have a website, masteryoflife.com.
Okay. I'm going to type that into the comments here. Okay.
Yeah, masteryoflife.com.
Life.com. Okay.
Yeah, and then go to the website, and then there's a section in there titled Articles and More. And go there, and I've got a bunch of articles and videos, and it'll just help you discover why your life is the way it is and how to have it be great.
And you have a free e-course too, right?
Yes, yeah. There's one thing I found is there's a step-by-step process for transforming your life and having it be great. And then the e-course walks people through the steps. There's 35 weekly lessons, and each week you get a very powerful insight and suggested action to take. You work with that, things happen, then a week later you get another lesson. And so anyway, it's very powerful and it's free.
Great.
And you can get that on the website. And
yeah,
plus
I put the link on there as well.
Oh, good. And then I do individual work with people, and you can find out about that on the website as well.
Great. Awesome. It's pretty clear. The website is like straightforward. It's like individual support, free e-course, articles and more. So it's all in the tabs right there. Even though I put the links on there, it's pretty straightforward. Gotta love HTML.
and the thing that's great is that problem areas can clear up, relationships can heal, and we can create great lives. But it takes looking at life in a different way.
Right.
And
people can just reach out to you and just get into a conversation with you, right?
Yeah. I can go to the website. There'll be a way to contact me. Just call me. We can talk a little bit about your situation and what needs to be done.
Yeah, very approachable. Despite being a celebrity on Oprah, he still makes himself that available, reinventing himself on. I love this. This is such a cool thing. So, so definitely go to his website. For those of you who are, I highly encourage you to get into a conversation. Just being in a conversation with Bill can be life changing in itself. He has so much. He's so giving, so generous with just the knowledge and his experience and everything like that. I highly encourage you, for those of you who are listening in, whether it be live or after the fact, to connect with him. I don't think he's going to say, well, in order to connect with me, you're going to have to pay this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, forget that. He's a very approachable, very easy. If you're watching him on YouTube, you can just see that this guy just exudes happiness and generosity, and just, he loves what he does, and it's such a far cry from being a lawyer, right?
Oh, what a contrast.
I know. And your wife still loves you, right? So
yes.
Okay, very cool. Well, Bill, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you sharing all that you shared. I really hope that people can see what I got to see, and both before the interview and after and during the interview, how valuable it would be to be able to connect with you and kind of like learn more about what you bring to this world and leaving on this planet. Would love to see, potentially have you back on the show again in the future when this path that you're on of reinvention comes to fruition. Would love to have you come on again and share a little bit about that as well, because I think that would be great. It's just a great story in itself. You have, I'm sure, a lot more stories to share, but we can probably save that for the next episode, right?
That sounds great. And thank you for having me on the show. It's just been a real joy to be with you. And I've been on hundreds and hundreds of radio shows, TV shows, podcasts, things like that. But you come from a place that really brings out the best in people, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's like that's not always the way that it is.
Oh,
so,
yeah, I know. I've been on some shows. I'm like, whoa, why did I say yes to this?
Well, you have a beautiful, open, loving personality that makes it safe for people to be who they are around you.
Yeah.
So you have that you come from that place that brings out the best in people and empowers people. And that's an incredibly wonderful gift.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it makes it easy when you have so many talents and skills and gifts to offer. I mean, I just love what it is that you do. There's so much synergy in what it is, and it's synchronicity in what it is I do to help people as well. So keep doing the good work, because I really... And if there's anything that we can do on our end to help, to support, to strategically kind of like build up for you, to help you kind of navigate this 21st century, it's so weird, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out. We love to kind of work with as many of us light bringers as possible, if you will.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great. So that's our show for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you found this episode to be valuable and you know someone else that could benefit from what we talked about today, and I guarantee if you really listen to what Bill was sharing today, there's definitely something that someone else that you know and love could benefit from. Share this. Review us on iTunes, Spreaker, and like the episode on YouTube Live. And we even have a Facebook group called The Money Lab, same name as the show. So join us there to dive in deeper into other entrepreneurial stuff, bad money story, elimination strategies, and all that fun stuff, right? So that is a wrap. Take this week to apply the knowledge that you got from Bill today, and then have an amazing week. We'll catch you next week on the Money Lab Live podcast, when we'll have entrepreneur, author, and curiosity expert, Dr. Diane Hamilton. This is Wei from the Six Figure Academy, and Bill signing off. Okay, so everybody in YouTube land, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. And Bill, again, thank you so much for sharing us your gifts, your heart, everything that you did today. It was awesome. It was really good.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yep. Okay, so stay a little bit. I'm going to basically stop this, and then we'll debrief, if you will. Okay, see you, everybody. Bye.